you know that the guests may not know, our main focus is air pollution, and so we tackle that from a number of different advantages. One thing that we're really focused on right now, because we're in this global pandemic, is taking care of the people that we work with in North Birmingham. So we've been hosting these pop-up markets to provide free produce, free non-perishable grocery items and household goods, face masks and hand sanitizer to the people that we care about and the people that we work with in North Birmingham.
Nice.
So that's been our biggest project. I think it's really important to note that we're out in the hot Alabama sun right now, sweating. And you know, like, I can't imagine what it might be like to live in the Black Belt or to live in North Birmingham and to have your power cut off in the middle of a global pandemic, to have to suffer through this heat and to have to deal with all of the health and environmental costs that come with a utility shutoff. So I think it's really unjust in regular times, much less during a global pandemic.
Yeah. Listen, we've already gone to Botanical Garden and we've seen what was there and how beautiful it is. Right now, you're in my backyard. So not only are we doing conversations in the park, but we're doing conversations in the yard as well. And so I've got Michael Hansen back with us once again to finish up our conversation and grab some of the things that we didn't grab while we were in Botanical Garden. First and foremost, I'd ask both of you gentlemen how you doing. I've got Kyle Kreider, who's my co-host, as well as our policy and program director for Alabama Interfaith Power and Light, as well as People's Justice Council. And Cal, how are you?
I am well. It is so nice to be here today on this gorgeous morning.
Good deal. How about you, Michael Hansen?
I'm doing well too. It's hot, but we got some shade and I'm happy to be here.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So I wanted to go back and rehash our conversation concerning poverty and energy justice in the state of Alabama, and in particular here in Jefferson County. We're right now in Pleasant Grove, but we know that GASP works a lot with North Birmingham, where you would find some of the highest levels of poverty in Jefferson County. And so, Michael Hansen, can you tell us a little bit more about the state of North Birmingham, not just their energy and the burdens that they have to deal with environmentally, but economically as well?
Yeah, so North Birmingham is comprised of 6 neighborhoods, so it's a pretty big community overall. But when we're looking at the Superfund site area where we do a lot of our work, you're talking about 60+% poverty rates. It's about 92% Black, and its plurality of the population is over 50. So it's an older, poorer, and very Black community, and it's been economically deprived for generations because of, I believe, environmental pollution, contamination, redlining, and a lot of other political and policy factors.
Okay. One of the things that I've learned in doing this work is that oftentimes pollution is used as a tool of oppression. And a lot of your more polluting facilities tend to target Black communities to get approval to build plant their pollution in those communities, which in turn drives down the property value, making their investment worthless. And in all actuality, it just continues this whole cycle of poverty.
Yeah, I think that's right. And you know, someone once said that the smartest thing that the conservative movement ever did was to drive a wedge between poor Black people and poor white people and create that chasm so that they're against one another. And in reality, it's the same thing in poor white communities too. So it's citing of polluting facilities and all of these things. And they use economics as an excuse. We're bringing jobs, we're bringing economic development and tax revenue and all these things, but at what cost? And that's the question that never gets answered. If I may add, One key element to all of this puzzle is what's happening across Southern Company in Georgia and Mississippi with the Vogel and Kemper boondoggles. They know that Alabama is a place where they can make up for that for their shareholders, and that's what they're trying to do. Any sort of energy efficiency program, like weatherization or solar on your home or anything like that, that is going to cut into Alabama Power's bottom line. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about money. And if only we had regulators in office and legislators in power who cared about people more than they cared about their campaign contributors and their bottom line, then we might get somewhere on something like that.
Cal, what do you think about that?
Oh, Michael Hansen is exactly right. I mean, there's a famous economist, Herman Daly. This is also attributed to the founder of Earth Day, but I think it can be traced back to economist Herman Daly, who says the economy is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment, not the other way around. So anytime you see politicians or anyone trying to make this distinction about it's jobs or the environment, it's jobs or pollution, that's a false dichotomy.
Yeah,
It's playing us against one another.
I absolutely agree. And I also think that that is a ploy to keep us from looking at what really ails us, which is the pollution that comes from, in particular, our energy and the making of our energy and the whole process of the making of our energy. One of the things that plagues North Birmingham pollution-wise is the industrial pollution that they get from the making of the things that bring us energy. What would it look like for us to have green industry here in North Birmingham and in Jefferson County, in addition to having access to our own energy sources?
It's a many-pronged question, right?
Yeah.
So I'll start with energy, because there's a real problem in places like North Birmingham, but all across the state of Alabama, really. We rank dismally in energy efficiency, and Jefferson County and Birmingham in particular rank like dead last. Out of like the top 51 metro areas, Birmingham's dead last for energy efficiency. And part of the problem is the housing stock. So we've got a bunch of older houses that, and residents in low-income areas cannot afford to retrofit their homes. And so you've got these compounding problems of industrial pollution outside, high energy costs, further exacerbating poverty and wealth inequality, and your home is energy inefficient and you can't afford to upgrade it, and the pollution gets inside. So like, it's all of these things compounding one another. And as far as green industry goes, you know, I leave that to experts in that field.
Yeah.
That's not really my forte.
I got you. What do you think, Cal?
Well, there's one word that occurs to me that kind of ties all of those things we're talking about together, and it might surprise you because it's the word slow. We need slow food as opposed to fast food. Community-oriented agriculture. It's healthier. It's better for the environment and for our bodies. We need slow energy. Now, a barrel of oil, as I've talked about in other contexts, you know, that's a lot of bang for your buck. But the fuel is free when we're talking solar power or wind power. And so, you know, the solar panel might not give you the immediate bang of burning a barrel of oil, but it's a heck of a lot cleaner. I mean, oil is really just really old, really dirty solar power, compact. So let's get our solar power clean directly from the source. Slow food, slow energy, and there's even a slow money movement. One thing that we're involved with is we call it mutual organization, or community supported organization, CSOs. We want to form co-ops, put power to the people, give power to the people, power by the people, of the people, for the people. And so slow money is even a way of building building the community economy, keeping dollars or whatever your medium of exchange is. There's all these local currencies as an example of slow money. Um, you know, keep that money, keep that power local.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's how you build wealth.
Amen.
That's how you build wealth.
Amen.
And,
It starts at home.
right, and the building of wealth has to be a communal effort. Just as oppression is a communal effort, and it's intentional. And so the building of wealth has to be a communal effort in the aspect that when we build wealth together, then that money continues to circulate within the community together, versus the other way around, where you have money that is extractive, and so we build extractive relationships, and we just take, and we refuse to put anything back in the community. We've talked about subsidies, and the fact that a lot of industry is subsidized when they come into our communities to pollute our communities. And there's no recourse for those who live in those communities to get their money from their investment in their property. There's no recourse for them to get their health back once it's polluted and the contaminants and the toxins are released. It's no recourse for them when it comes down to their lifestyle and their livelihood. Because when you have pollution in communities, you're sick much more.
Exactly. And we are an interfaith organization, so we're used to quoting from holy texts, including the Bible. And this is a great example of a very scary verse that says, "From those who have not, even what little they have will be taken." These extractive industries are an example of that. I mean, the community is subsidizing out of their own pockets through lower taxes, tax breaks, other forms of subsidy. These industries that come in and take and take and take. These industries have CEOs that make 300 times the pay of the people actually doing the work. Even what little these people have is being taken away.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, so when we look at it and we look at all that is going on in the state of Alabama, it's like, for me, who do I get? Who do I blame? Who do I advocate to? Who do I get to really listen at and care for what's happening in our communities?
Where to start? First, I want to respond to something Kyle said, and what you were talking about with subsidies. I would just add to that, where you were going with it is that, like, we're not just subsidizing these things with our tax dollars through the government, but our bodies are subsidizing these industries as well, and our pocketbooks are at the end of the day, because you've got a food desert, you've got asthma, you've got COPD, you've got cancer, whatever else comes along with polluting industries, and our bodies and our pocketbooks are the ones subsidizing these industries in our backyards. And as far as who to blame, I mean, you can just throw a dart at the list of people in elected office, and you'll land on someone who's responsible. Whether it's City Hall and zoning issues and lack of foresight in future land use, whether it's your legislators in the state capitol who don't have the guts to take on polluting industries, and the utility companies and all of their allies, the governor's office and who they appoint to commissions and agencies. You've got the Public Service Commission, which are elected, and their allegiance to dirty fossil fuels, county commissioners, you name it. You know, there's someone who is in every office in Alabama who has contributed to these factors.
So how do we start? What can we do? and I mean, in particular, Michael, when we're looking at communities of faith being involved, what can we do to get involved and to be a part of the solutions for Alabama?
I think there are a couple of routes. One thing that faith leaders can do is get involved in the Right to Breathe campaign that we recently launched in partnership with our friends at PANIC, People Against Neighborhood Industrial Contamination. We launched this campaign, and along with it, a set of demands that we're seeking. And one of those demands right now is that we're asking Governor Kay Ivey, who's been in office for over 3 years, to get on board with adding the site to the national priorities list. She hasn't taken any action on North Birmingham as governor or said anything, taken a position in public. And so we're really asking her to step up and ask the EPA to add the site to the NPL. And that would go a long way towards long-term remediation and redevelopment if the site were to get on the NPL. So that's really important. You can get involved with that at gaspgroup.org/RTB. You've got to be registered to vote. You've got to learn about, in this year, absentee voting and how to do that to stay safe during the pandemic, but also like restoration of voting rights and making sure that everyone who is eligible to vote is registered and does vote, and voter education about the issues. And that's something that 501c3s can do. You know, GASP is a 501c3, People's Justice Council is too. So we can do voter education and civic engagement. We can register people to vote. We can talk about issues that matter to them. And I think that the people who are watching this need to support organizations like People's Justice Council and GASP. Donate, sign up to volunteer, join the newsletters, take action when we issue action alerts, get involved in our campaigns. And that is, I think, those two things combined really, over time, have a big impact.
Absolutely. So I would be remiss if I allowed for us to leave this conversation and not bring up Arm in Arm.
No.
And in particular, our Arm in Arm Birmingham hub, which you and I both are leaders on and in and partners in. As Arm in Arm, what all have you all done thus far, and what can we look forward to in the future that we can be involved in?
So I'll start from the beginning and try to give a brief overview. Arm in Arm started about 1.5 years ago with some leaders from across the United States coming together and developing a goal. We set out to study mass movements and transfer what we learned from them into the climate change arena. We chose a goal, which is to ignite a transformational era that will end the climate crisis by centering racial and economic justice. And we built a model for how to organize locally. It's a decentralized movement. We don't dictate the terms, you do locally. And so we've seen, like in places like Spokane, where they're organizing direct actions at City Hall and beaming lights about climate justice and environmental racism up on City Hall. To Utah, where they're building food orchards on vacant land and allowing people to grow their own food, and seeing the intersections of climate change and food sovereignty. In DC, they've shut down streets and had playtime for kids. They've set up little cafes and things like that. And it's all through this idea of disruptive humanitarianism. Disruptive humanitarianism is this idea that we in Arm in Arm developed that is based around civil disobedience and nonviolent direct action. But we were looking at it in terms of taking care of our communities and using the absurdities of the system of economic, racial, and environmental injustice and highlighting those through nonviolent direct action in a way that highlights the injustice and helps people. So that's the idea of disruptive humanitarianism. And we figure we can use that model as a way to address climate change. We have a couple of lawsuits or legal interventions, as I like to call them, One involves Alabama Power's excessive and unfair charge for solar power, where they're charging people $5 per kilowatt per month to have solar on their home and connected to the grid. So that's one case. It's sort of in a wait and see mode. We're waiting for the Public Service Commission to rule on it. And then the other one is a case about Alabama Power's request to expand their fossil fuel footprint by $1.1 billion in nearly 2 gigawatts of gas capacity.
Wow.
And so we intervened along with our partners at the Southern Environmental Law Center and Energy Alabama to try and put a halt to that. And so far we were unsuccessful. The PSC ruled against us in that case, and but they haven't issued an order, so we don't know what's going to come next. We have to wait for that order, but those are two of the big energy issues we've worked on lately. That's what we're doing. In Birmingham, we're a fledgling group. We're still getting people to join. So if you want to join the Birmingham Hub, you can go to armandarmforclimate.org and look for the Birmingham Hub on the homepage and join us. And we'll be getting organized very soon.
All right. Let us say that one more time. If you want to be a part of a growing movement, that you don't have to worry about it becoming violent, because we believe in disruptive humanitarianism, where we do good to disrupt the systems that do evil. Join us at armandarmforclimate.org and look for the Birmingham Hub. armandarmforclimate.org and look for the Birmingham Hub.
I just want to say it's the number 4, not the word 4.
The number 4, thank you. The number 4. Arm in Arm, the number 4, climate.org. So listen, before we get out of here, before we end this conversation, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to GASP and let you all know what GASP is up to these days. So if you want to just give us a rundown of what we can look forward to with GASP and how we can get involved, that would be great.
Okay. Well, I'll start with our mission. Our mission is to advance healthy air and environmental justice in the greater Birmingham area through education, advocacy, and collaboration. And that collaboration really is about grassroots organizing. And so one of the things we're doing right now on that front is organizing pop-up markets for the people of North Birmingham so that they have access to fresh, healthy food, groceries, hand sanitizer, face masks, and all the things that they need so they don't have to leave the house as often and put themselves at risk because of those factors I mentioned earlier that make them susceptible to the coronavirus. And we're also continuing all of our advocacy work even during this pandemic. So we've got lawsuits up and down the state regarding clean energy, fossil fuels, and all of the citing of industrial pollution in low wealth or Black communities. So we're doing all the advocacy, education, and organizing that we usually do.
Beautiful.
Go
Beautiful.
GASP.
That's it. Go GASP. Listen, GASP is one of our main partners here in Birmingham. Michael Hansen is one of my dear friends, and we just want to make sure that we're supportive of what they're doing. We need communities of faith to rally around GASP and help them to be all that they can be and to really be the solution for Birmingham, for North Birmingham and the surrounding areas. As always, this is Reverend Michael Malcolm, and today we offer to you love, peace, and light.